Are you living in and trapped in a low effort family? A family that does the bare minimum but still expects an award for the slightest things that they do? If that's the case and you're living that life as well, this video is for you. Today I'm going to talk about my experiences living in a family that is very low effort and how I've managed to keep my boundaries and also stay sane in the process. Hi there, if you're new here, I'm Lori and this is my channel, Ever After 50. I will be sharing here all things midlife. I'm a working mom, I have a full-time job, I have a small business, I'm married, I have 2 young adults living in the home still, and I have 2 cats. And I will be sharing all things midlife. I'm also in the pre-retirement stage, have PCOS and perimenopause. So there's a lot happening here. And I'll be sharing all of my journeys, all of my advice. If any of this resonates, I hope you will subscribe. Thank you for being here. Low effort families. This term has just become more popular, I think thanks to social media, which is amazing because for years I have struggled trying to figure out what I was doing wrong, what was wrong with my family. I always felt like I was the one doing so much and everyone else was doing so little. And when I talk about family, I mean my extended family. So parent, siblings, and the more that this became prevalent in social media, the light bulbs really started to go off and I started to put the pieces together. And thank God I did, because I have struggled for so many years thinking that the problem was me. And this is what happens with low effort families. There's no blame whatsoever on their end. It's everybody else that's the problem. Growing up, I always wanted more than what I was given. Now, when I say that, I mean, I was raised by a single mother. And I'll just preface by saying, yes, I know she did the best she could. But there was just, and maybe this is the same for a lot of Gen Xers, you basically raised yourself. There was very little emotional attachment, very little emotional support, and very little guidance. And so that's just that part of it. But also, on top of that, I just had a very low effort parent. And, Christmas, all of the holidays, Christmas, Halloween, Easter, Thanksgiving, it was always just the bare minimum. I had a sibling, we turned 13. Basically, Christmas was off the table. There was no more Christmas. We basically just started putting up a tree on our own and trying to make, the holidays enjoyable. And it's just like birthdays, like everything. There was no effort whatsoever. And I'm not going to use the excuse of, single parent, low, resources, because again, it does not take much to make the slightest little bit of effort. And growing up, I knew that I wasn't happy. I knew that this was not how I wanted to live my life. And when I grew up and when I had my own kids, and I made sure that when I had my kids, I did everything opposite to the way I was raised. And I always felt like I was the problem. Like, why am I so different? And I think all of us maybe have a little bit of childhood trauma that we're dealing with. And we use that trauma to make changes in our own lives. And that's basically how I wanted to, move forward with my life. I wanted everything to be different from how I was raised. I just wanted to chat about this because this is something that's always on my mind. And especially with the holidays coming up, people are under a lot of pressure and a lot of stress, and it does not help when you have low effort families. I had a sibling who was also the same. And I often thought, why is she like this? And honestly, the light bulb just went off recently. And I was like, she is exactly like our mother. That is it. And it's the same, very little effort. And she has 3 kids, very little effort for the holidays, every single holiday. She's married though, so we can't use this excuse of single parenthood. Very little effort with literally everything in every relationship she has. She moved away not too far, but again, very little effort, never made the trip to come home, maybe once a year. And it's a driving distance, like 6 hours. So it's not even a huge distance. Never made the effort, with relationships with our family. So my kids, it was always us, my husband and I, we always made the extra effort, with her kids. And I struggled for so many years wondering, like, why? What is it? Is it jealousy? Is it like competition? Which it is. That's part of it too. That's what happens with siblings, I think, a lot of the time. And this is why those two, like my mother and my sister, get along extremely well, because they are the same. And I have always had higher expectations. And I thought that when I had kids, my mother would change, but she did not change. She carried that same sort of behavior on with her grandchildren. And to this day, still does. Now my kids are 17 and 20 and they barely have a relationship with her. And she lives around the corner, my mom. So I struggled with that so much. And I fought with myself so much over the years, because I thought, like, again, what am I doing wrong? And it's just that I expected more and I wanted more and I was not getting it. And I would have multiple conversations over the years with my mother, explaining to her, this is not good enough. Like, why are you like this? I mean, I didn't say it like that, but I just, would say, you cannot complain that you don't have a relationship with your grandchildren if you've not even made an effort. They're the kids, you're the adult. It's up to you to initiate and for you to make the relationship, grow and flourish. And if you don't have that emotional connection with them, then at this point, 17 and 20, you're not going to. And she'll call me and say, oh, I called, one of the kids and they haven't called me back. And I said, like, I don't care. Like, they're young adults now. Whatever they decide to do, that's on them. And if you don't have a relationship with them, that's on you, because you're the one that ruined it because you didn't do things with them. You didn't build that emotional connection. So, she repeatedly does this, where she'll call me and say, I called the kids, they didn't call me back. And I repeatedly say to her, I don't care. Like, I do not control my kids. I'm not going to tell them who to call, who not to call. They're young adults. And if you didn't nurture that relationship, that is on you. You're the one that's lost out. So over the years, the only way that I've managed to stay sane is to set my expectations very, very low, meaning like zero. I have zero expectations. And the other question is, like, do we really need to work on these relationships anymore? At what point do you say, I'm done, I'm not working on this anymore? And, how severe do you want the boundaries to be? As far as setting boundaries, over the last few years, and I think, again, everything when I turned 50, all of the light bulbs went off. I don't know what happened, but I just finally decided enough is enough. I'm going to make all these changes in my life. I made changes like for myself. I've made changes with relationships that I have with people, whether I think they are providing any value in my life, and whether I need to, cut ties with them. It's very difficult to cut ties with a parent, but I drastically changed the amount of time I spend. And I have set up boundaries so that it's very clear that I'm the one in charge and I'm calling the shots as far as the relationship goes. I stopped inviting my parent to our home. And even when the holidays come, and this is what I mean, the holidays are so stressful for so many people, and it's usually to do with family drama. And, right after Halloween, I can feel the stress level starting to rise, because I know that Christmas is on the horizon, and then I'm going to have my low effort mother and low effort sister coming into town, and then I got to deal with them. And also, with the holidays, when you're dealing with low effort families, I'm always the one doing everything. I host, I cook everything, and we're an Italian family here, so I do the Feast of the Seven Seas on Christmas Eve. I do like the full Christmas dinner. It's a huge production here. And it's, they don't mind coming and enjoying all of the work that I do, but as far as contributing, they barely contribute. They don't contribute as far as helping out with the work, and they don't contribute financially by helping to pitch in with buying all of the food. It's always on us, and it's just expected. And then, dare I say anything, like, you guys could pitch in, and then, I'm looked at like I have four heads. But again, it's like the tag team of low efforts roll into town, and it's just find it very stressful. So where was I going with this? So I just think the holidays are a lot more stressful for so many people because of the family dynamics. And, back to the boundaries, I have stopped inviting my parent to our home just for random visits. What I'll do is that if and it's the guilt is what gets you. Because I go, days, weeks without even giving, a thought. and then the guilt creeps in and it's like, oh, I better call her, I better go out with her. But why am I being made to feel guilty when, the parent is the one that's supposed to be nurturing the relationship, providing emotional support. But if you didn't ever get it, how come I'm the one that's guilty? So as far as the boundaries, then what I do is when the guilt sets in and I figure I should make my token visit, I'll say, meet me at the mall and we'll go for coffee. And I leave it at that. I no longer invite the person into my home, only for the holidays, because again, the guilt sets in. So just setting those boundaries. If you have to, some people cut people off completely from their lives. For me personally, that guilt is so strong, I can't quite do that. But it's getting pretty close. So, it's very important to have the boundaries. And the thing is, no matter how many times you call these people out, you will always be the bad guy. So you have to decide, as far as your own, peace of mind and mental health, is it even worth calling them out? Because you're going to beat yourself against a wall, calling things out all the time, and nothing's going to be received. They're completely innocent. They do not understand. They think they're doing a fantastic job. So you really have to decide how much effort you want to be putting into the relationship and how much you want to call them out on their bad behavior. And honestly, like lowering your expectations to zero does help. However, you're going to struggle with that a lot if you are a person that does expect, some sort of reciprocal behavior. So it's definitely not easy. For anyone else that's out there with low effort families, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments, how you've been dealing with it or how you've struggled, because, I find great strength in going to the comments of other videos with people that have lived like this and realizing that I'm not alone. I'm not the only person out there that's been dealing with family members that are like this. And finding your own peace is the most important thing. And that's my advice to you. Set your boundaries, do whatever you need to do to find your own peace, and you're not to blame. So if you have enjoyed this conversation and you'd like to add something in the comments, I'd love to hear from you. And if you haven't already subscribed, please do so. I have a lot to say here. I'm a Gen Xer. So many things that I have to talk about and say, but thank you for watching until the very end. Until next time, bye for now.